We have one of the nicest MCs joining me on the show here tonight for Sports and Hip Hop with DJ Mad Max, who goes by the name of Chris Rivers. Got a brand new collective album out right now, Apophenia. Chris Rivers, what is going
Yes.
on, man? Welcome to the show, Sports and Hip Hop with DJ Mad Max.
Oh man, thank you for having me, bro. I love your energy, and kudos to you for pronouncing the album title correctly for the first try. That a lot of people don't get it, man, but you got it. Yeah.
I made sure to do my research and make sure that everything is correct when I come to the interview here, and I'm looking forward to chatting with you about it. And you got a lot of things planned on the way. My favorite song on the track is "Thank You." Just that outro track that you have on there and the energy you put into that is insane.
Oh man, I love that. That means you listen to the whole project. The fact that you listen to the outro, which means a lot. You know what I mean? And it was the perfect way to end it, man. I love how everybody came on there. Denzil, Oswin, they killed it. So did Tony Chalk. He did the production on the whole project, and it was really fun to make that, man, for real.
Mm-hmm. Congratulations on that. The new release. Make sure you go check it out. Everyone go download it, support it, support the real hip hop and the real MCs out here. So tell me, how did this collective start to come about? Because you've been collaborating with Oswin for years.
Yes. So basically, OCD, it's our name initials, Oswin Benjamin, Chris Rivers, and Denzil Porter. Yeah, and we originally we all knew each other for a while, but we originally linked together on Team Backpack, with which is known now as World MC, World Underground MC, and it was a big hip hop coalition for like a lot of upcoming artists or people who like really into lyricism, and they gave a platform for us to have incredible ciphers and stuff like that. So we was on a few ciphers prior to that. But when Armani, shout out to Armani, he was running it at the time. He told us to all be in like a cipher together. Like, yo, how about you, Oswald, and Denzil be in a cipher together? And since we all knew each other, we figured like, yo, instead of going up there and just rapping separately, how about we like really get up prior and really plan to make this something really crazy like together? And we didn't realize that we was creating a moment that was going to stand in history. Like people went nuts for that cipher. Like we put a staple in there. We changed the whole cipher world in that sense. And then from then, that was probably like 7 years ago, people been demanding like, yo, we need a project from you guys, like OCD. And after that, we did 2 more ciphers, and over the next 2 years, and they've been constant. Like that was the last one was probably 5 years ago, and they've nonstop been asking for it. We, obviously as individual artists, we've been releasing projects, they've been busy, but it came to a point where we was like, yo, like I think it's time. People have been asking for it for like 7 years, and we all got the free time right now to do it. So let's get up, let's make it happen. And we did, man. Like we actually started recording. It took us like a month to make the project. And total shout out to Tony Chalk as well. Like he produced it from top to bottom. And yeah, man, we made something we're proud of. And we all pushed each other. It's scary rapping with them dudes, man. They too nice.
Tell them Heart of the City, those Window Pane.
Yeah,
There's some bangers on there.
Oh, thank you, bro. Thank you, man. Like, yeah, we really have fun. Like, collectively, like, I feel like Oswin is great at things that he's great at. Denzil's great at things that he's great at, and I'm great at the things that I'm great at. And they don't always overlap. Like, we're all awesome, but we expertise in certain like things that the others don't. And I think like us three all coming together, we make really good music. So it was a good time, bro. It was a good time.
Absolutely. When coming up with the title, because if you look at the definition of apophenia, you see that it's the relation of unrelated things, the connection between unrelated things.
Right. So I think the way that we all rap, like we really often push like a subject matter or a topic or a concept to its limits. And we realized while we was making a project and we hearing everything back, it was like, yo, we each took our own personal life experience and we added a different perspective to that singular concept. So we thought the title really meshed well because we're 3 separate pieces, three different lives, 3 different perspectives, all forming together to form just this one song or this one track and this one project. So it really fit because we hope that we covered, like, because we're so different as people, me, Oswin, and Denzil, that we hope that we covered like, at least, millions of people's different perspectives on each one of those subjects that we rapped about. So we thought that really felt right. You know what I mean? Because we were all coming together. It's different, but it's all about the same shit,
You guys definitely have the chemistry. Is there going to be an OCD tour coming up?
So right now we have 3 shows lined up, and we're actually leaving tomorrow to go drive down to Colorado. We got shows on the 28th, 29th, and the 30th. We got a show in Cali lined up in February as well. Touring is a little weird right now with how the world is. You know what I mean?
COVID.
any shows that we do get, we're definitely gonna shout it out and tell people on our socials. But we might even do some stuff in the metaverse, you know, who knows? But we're definitely gonna pump it as much as we can and release the videos, etc. For sure.
Which videos can we expect next from you?
So All Love already came out.
That's right.
What You Mean, which is the super story based record. You know what I'm saying? That one actually drops tomorrow, pretty early. So that one's gonna happen. And then Thank You, the track you like. We're gonna release a video for that, and a lot of people are demanding Kai Shi as well. So we kind of just been really listening to what people want, and so there's a few on there that we got to shoot for real.
Just do videos for the whole album, because it seems as though everyone likes the whole album.
You know what I'm saying? That's why I want to learn. I'm actually going to take it seriously and learn how to shoot my own music videos and edit them down properly, because you realize when you're dealing with a lot of other people's schedules, or you're trying to hire a videographer, or like whatever it is, it gets more complicated when you want to shoot 10, 15 videos. You know what I mean? Like, but that's why I'm gonna get to the point. I'm like, yo, guys, I got us. Like, I'm a shooter, I'm an editor, and every single thing I come out with is gonna have a music video, bro. Trust me.
And I'm looking forward to it. But how's life going for you in 2022? Especially, I know your whole backstory. We know who your father is, a legendary Big Pun. We'll get into all that. But how's your mind state in 2022?
Man, it's been a year of growth. Like, speaking of my father, like I turned 28 in the November that passed, and 28 is actually the age that he died. So it was definitely an interesting age to know that I'm currently older than my father was when he last was alive, and to feel that, and to run with it, you know what I mean, and to come into this year, you know, I got engaged late last year as well.
Congratulations! I saw that online.
Thank you, bro. I moved across the country to the West Coast. You know, I really, like, when I look at last year, a year ago this time, my life is a total black and white change. You know what I mean? So to see how much can change in a year, it's honestly inspiring. And there's a lot of things that I do want to accomplish still. And I've been thinking a lot about, you know, how I'm going to grow as a man and as a human, and where I'm going in life. And it's been an introspective few months. I actually had a crazy mushroom trip right before my birthday. It's the first time I ever tried it, and man, it was like an ego death, and that just changed my mind a lot. And yeah, I think mentally I came into this year strong, man. This project came out, and just moving forward with music firmly, and getting a few other things under my belt that I feel could be lucrative, and yeah, just running with positivity and good health, man. You know, I want to get healthy, get right, get financially just powerful, and just keep moving, enjoy life, you know.
That's great to hear. And I'm glad that things are going positive in your life, especially with the releases of the music and everything that you have up and coming. You mentioned your ego on window pane, actually.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And I think it was important. I see a lot of, it's funny, I see a lot of, with all of us, you know, like, I see a lot of, in our writing, like, specific, it's dope when I'm like there, like I hang out with Oswin and Denzil, and we're going through stuff, and something might happen, and then later on when we're in the studio, I hear it in his verse, or, you know what I mean? Like, so I can see a lot of where I was at my life in that month, for doing those months, in the lyrics and stuff like that. And we're big believers in only using real life experiences. If we talk about something that we haven't been through, it's either a story or something that we know that someone's been through, but we only try to put real life into our lyrics so that it resonates with people who also live, you know?
That's hip hop, and that's what you've been doing since day one. And to get into the backstory of your father and just how you came about, you realize that your father made a huge impact, and that he was an icon and a legend, especially in the music industry. At his funeral, do you have any memories of being either at any of his tours or performances when you were younger?
I have some scattered memories. I remember being in the studio while he was recording some of his albums, either his first or his second one. I can't remember, because he didn't really let us into the actual studio that much, but we was in like the building. I remember playing a lot of Crazy Taxi on the arcade machine that was outside the actual like studio room. I remember there was a couple times that we went on the road with him. There was one time where I went with him to Amsterdam where he had a show. I remember I was like 4 years old, and I was just like gassed out from like the flight. I made up an imaginary friend that was with me the whole tour, and like, you know, he passed when I was 6, so like anything I experienced was, you know, 6 and down, and really between the age of like 4, like 3 and 4, because the last year or two of my life, his health was getting really bad, because he started getting really heavy. So at that time he stopped. He was way less active, like in the studio and like on the road, because he actually couldn't move around too much. So but I do remember some of those moments definitely, and just him being a just a nut person. Like he loved pranks, he loved just doing crazy stuff, and just really utilizing the fact that who he was, so like he could just get away with shit. You know what I mean? Like, so it was definitely fun. I would love to have had my current mind with those experiences, because I think I would have loved to have more conversations with him, and also just been around while he was creating, because as a 4-year-old I wasn't super duper interested in like the studio sessions and all that stuff, but as an adult right now and someone who does music myself, I would have loved to have been around such like A-list level production studio quality artists, you know what I mean? Like, but you know, it's definitely dope to look back and be like, oh shit, that really did happen. Yeah, like,
Unbelievable. Just amazing stories that you have there. And rest in peace to your father, one of the greatest to ever do it. And you're following in his footsteps. And I've heard you say in interviews, you don't like when people say that you're trying to be him, but it's always an honor to hear someone say that you sound like him, because
yeah.
he's one of the greatest of all time. Is there ever a line in your career when you feel as though, because you used to be called Baby Pun, you changed your name to Chris Rivers? Is there ever a point in your career where you're going to say, I'm Chris Rivers? Because I feel as though with the music you've been doing for years, with GITU, which is Gitu, greatest in the universe, self-inflicted bubble boy, you're making an imprint for yourself. Is there ever a point in your life where you're saying that this is Chris Rivers?
Yeah, I think I've been pretty vocal about that for years. Even the moniker Baby Pun, it was never something that I chose for myself. Like when I first started rapping as like a little kid, I was given that name. You know what I mean? I didn't choose that, which made sense. And back then, I was less, you know, as an 8-year-old or a 9-year-old or however old I was at the time, I wasn't so focused on identity. You know what I mean? Like I'm a little kid. Like those types of introspective thoughts don't really hit you until later on. But when I was in high school and I was rapping, and I knew that right after I graduated, I wanted to you know, really pursue music. I knew that I wanted to be established as someone that was myself, because you know, I would do this regardless of who my father was. So you know, after that I was like, okay, my name is Chris Rivers, that's who I am. And I would really have to like go around and correct people constantly, like, no, call me Chris Rivers. And they're like, nah, you still be. I'm like, yo, bro. And their name, and say their name was like Jeff. I'll be like, all right, cool. I got you, Bob. No, my name's not Bob. I'm like, exactly. I would have called you Bob because your name's not fucking Bob. Like, you know, I will call you by your name. Call me by my name. You know what I mean? Like, so I would legit get into arguments with people. I would legit like, nah, call me this. I'll even do stuff like subliminal messages. Baby Pun is dead. Like all that stuff. And I think ultimately, like I was fighting a uphill battle, or like a upstream swim. And it's like, yo, like as long as I establish myself as an artist and people respect me for me, it gradually got to the point where people was like, yo, not like calling me Chris Rivers more. People, I go on interviews and people ask me more questions about myself. I realized that transition. And then also like my father, he passed almost 22 years ago. So if you're like early 20s or even in your teens and you get put onto me and you like me, you were probably born after or a baby when my father was passed or towards the end of his career. So they're more familiar with what I've done than him. So I see that gradual shift, you know what I mean? And I stopped being so like forceful with it, and more so just like, yeah, like whatever comes, you know what I mean? Like people love me for me. People love me because I came from that, a little bit of both sometimes. And I just, you know, just let it rock. You know, you can't fight the universe, bro.
I've heard about the stories, especially with the abuse that you've spoken about in the past. What was it in your mindset that you were able to forgive your father?
I think that the acknowledgement that everyone's human, you know what I mean? Like it's one of those things where, you know, I learned more about his childhood and what made him become a person like that. And I learned more about the cycle of abuse and what people go through when they often become the abuser, and you know, things of that nature. So, you know, it's always good to humanize a person and to not just idolize them as an artist or as a parent. You know, a lot of us, you know, idolize our parents growing up and we think they have it all figured out or things like that, when you don't realize that they're also humans just growing, and we're going to eventually be the age that our parents were when we idolized them and we realized we're still figuring things out. So how, you know, to think that they had it all figured out was crazy, especially in those times. Like my parents had 3 kids by the time they was 20 and they was homeless. Like I'm 28, I have no kids, and you know what I mean? Like, and like life was totally different in that time. And to know, you know, and know his upbringing and to know that people make mistakes, and, you know, and just acceptance. I think ultimately it's acceptance. Like when you hold on to, especially with someone that passed, like it's not like I could like speak to him and get his mind state and like try to understand the things that he did from his own perspective. Like, you know, so when someone dies and you don't even have the opportunity to speak to them, like when you hold on to any pain or any grief, you're really only hurting yourself. So, you know, I took it upon myself to be like, you know what, like I'm not gonna like, you know, let the trauma be more than what it is. You know what I'm saying? If I have to deal with subconscious traumas or things that I was molded by because of it, that's something I deal with, you know, but at a conscious level, I won't hold any pain or any resentment or any type of, you know what I'm saying? Like it's, and I do my best to help people. I've been to many seminars where I spoke about abuse, and I helped a lot of people with some of the music that I made. And I've been to shelters speaking to children who was in homes of domestic violence. I even got to speak to children in the same shelter that I was in when I was growing up. And, you know, and I see a lot of people ask themselves like, yo, why did this happen to me? And I realized like some people are always looking for a reason. And sometimes you have to create the reason. I went through all these things, not because something beforehand made it make sense, but what I do with that pain and what I do with that experience could give it purpose. And if I can help people, which I have, that gives my pain some purpose. So I'm grateful for everything that I've been through and all the lives that I've been able to save through my music or just me being present in their lives and being vocal about it. So, you know, ultimately, I'm blessed to be who I am, the pain and the good parts. So, you know, I can't hold no grudges for sure.
And it's great that you forgave your father and you forgive and you recognize that what he went through in his childhood. So you recognize that he was human. In this day and age, I feel as though people don't look at people as being human with social media because we get the whole term cancel culture. What is your view on cancel culture and how we just throw people to the side and just automatically say that they're guilty without even evaluating what they went through in their lives?
Right. There's a duality there. I think that on one hand, I think that it's awesome that people do have a voice, and it's awesome that people are able to express themselves, especially the youth, where there's probably some people who really deserve to be canceled, some people
100%.
who in positions of power that deserve to be called out, or certain infrastructures and systems that deserve to be taken down and dismantled, especially with the youth now being so vocal about what's right and what's wrong. They're not giving it to the status quo. But on the flip end of that, I think that is dehumanizing a lot of people. I think there's certain people where that you're trying to cancel people for doing something that you've done, but since they're famous, you know what I mean? Like it's one of those things. It's like, yo, like to end. There's certain things that you and it's hard because who's the judge of it? Like I think we can all agree that like sexual assault or like pedophilia, certain things deserve a level of backlash that should be life destroying, or at least
100%.
like, that should affect your life dramatically. But then there's certain things that's like, okay, like it should be a slap on the wrist, because there's a difference between like something that someone should get canceled for and a teaching moment. And I feel like there's a lot of moments that are teaching moments that people are instead of getting canceled for. You get what I mean? And then also there's differences of opinion. Like, you know, it's like some people just don't agree with certain things. Some people think like, oh, you know, like I think kids today are too sensitive, or blah blah, whatever they want to say. I think it's one of those things. Like, you know, I think Dave Chappelle's a great example of it, because he's almost impossible to cancel. And there's always the conversation of like, you know, like what's okay not to joke about. And at the end of the day, it's all about opinions. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not a sensitive person, so I have friends that make dead dad jokes and abuse jokes and all these types of things. And I'm like, yo, if it's funny, it's funny. Like I laugh at it. Like I laugh at my own pain. So it's one of those things where it's like, if me being offended means that you can't do something, then what makes you know what I mean? So like it's that whole world of things. So I think like there's no defined line of what someone should be canceled for and what someone shouldn't be, opposed to the extremes. Like I said, rape and pedophilia versus like, you know, if someone was like just called someone, you know, you're stupid, like you're not gonna cancel them. Like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
maybe one day they'll get there. I don't know. So it's weird, man. I think people need to chill out a little bit, you know what I mean? And start accepting people for more who they are, and realize the things that should be changed and the things that are just differences of opinion. You know what I mean? But it's hard because that means us mutually agreeing as a culture, and like, and you know, that's never gonna happen. Like, you know what
No.
I mean? maybe in 1,000 years when we transcend physical bodies and we turn into like purely energy beings with a singular consciousness or some shit. But right now, like, yeah, niggas ain't agreeing on nothing. Like, so it's funny. Yeah.
Big Pun Plaza. How did it feel to be there at the celebration with the reveal for your father's plaza?
Yeah, it was really dope, man. There's a few moments in my life where I got to like for instance, my father's funeral, like you mentioned, where I really, as a little kid, you don't realize the magnitude of the impact that, I didn't realize the magnitude of the impact of my father left because I was a kid until I see, thousands upon thousands of people, strangers breaking down and crying, like to see the magnitude of his impact. And even growing up, seeing people with tattoos on their body, immortalizing him on their flesh 20 years after his passing, it's crazy. So to know how much the Bronx meant to him and to know how much of an impact he left, it felt deserving that he got his own street name. It felt right, especially in the Bronx. Like no matter how much money that man made, he never wanted to leave the hood. He never wanted to leave the Bronx, and it just made so much sense that he had a street named after it. So it was long overdue. He finally got it. It was dope to see the love and support of everybody that came out to it, and just to have that there. You know what I'm saying? If there is a heaven, or if there is a place where people could look, back on earth when they're passed, I'm sure that's something he would have been happy that he finally got. You know what I mean? And it's dope. It's dope. I'm proud of it for sure.
I really enjoyed when you released Sincerely Me, when you're speaking upon your father and you're just catching up on life with him as if he's still here, and you're talking to him spiritually, just letting him know how you've been, how your mother's doing, your family is doing. I think that was an amazing concept, and paying homage to him with the twins video because you got the camo outfit on.
Yeah.
So everything you match on it, the Puerto Rico flag, everything.
Oh, that's the yeah. We emulated a lot of his music videos, even the silk shirt from Still Not a Player, or what I'm saying, like different stuff like that. And yeah, like I thought that record, I only really communicate with him, in my head. Like I said, I wasn't able to, he's gone. So through music, I feel like that's a catalyst that, something he's done. And me growing up as a person, me writing and becoming an artist, I learned a lot about him through his music because my brain operates similar to his. So it's one of those things where now that I could break down his rhymes, I could, more than what he's saying, I could feel what he's thinking when he's writing it. So I feel the closest connection I have now with him is music. So when I decide to talk to him, it's usually through a song format. When I decide to pay homage, it's usually through a song format, and I try to do that. And Sincerely Me just felt right because at that time, like so much was going on in my life, and I realized, there was a chunk of my life where I didn't, talk to the universe. I didn't feel like I talked to him, or I didn't feel, you know what I mean? So I was like, let me get back in tune. And, I just wrote what I felt, and it was nice, man. People would like the song for sure.
It was amazing, just an amazing tribute. Your father was taken from us too soon, but his impact was felt, and it will continue to be felt until the end of time. Because I always look back at on this, we lost some greats in hip hop way too early with Biggie Smalls, Tupac, Big L, and your father. Because to me, those were the four. That's the Mount Rushmore of hip hop for me.
Oh, dude, man, it's crazy how some of the greatest people in music pass, man. Like, and in such unfortunate ways. You know what I mean? I always thought my father's passing was unique because as violent as he was in the streets, or as like gangster or hardcore as he was, it wasn't a gunshot or a gang thing that took him out. It was his own self-destruction. So I think, shining light on that is important because there's so many people that look up to him. And there's so many, what I'm saying, when you look at Biggie and Tupac's situation, it's a prime example of, of territorial beefs, misunderstandings, like so many things happen there. So it's different lessons that you could take from that. I feel like people who idolize my father as this, this horrorcore, incredible rapper, this gangster, like all the stuff, to know that he dealt with anxiety and dealt with depression, and he ate himself to death and had an addiction to that. Like, I think that's something that people could, learn to admit to themselves. Like, oh shit, like maybe I have issues, because as minorities and as people who grow up in the hood, we're not very privy to talking about the things that go on internally and the things that are happening to us. So I think he's a story of like, yo, if you could breach past that, if you could breach past your external shell, you could realize that maybe you do need help. Maybe you are traumatized. Maybe you are addicted. Maybe you do have issues. And if he addressed them earlier, maybe he could still be here with us. You know what I mean? Like, so it's one of those things. So I think his death was a big lesson to people who are willing to look into it and to learn from it, for sure.
Mm-hmm. At 6, you lost your father. Then we move on to when you're 8 years old, because you had your own deal with Interscope with Three Down, the group with Benzino's son.
Yes, yes, and another dude named Lil James.
Mhm.
That was crazy, man. That was a crazy time. It was like I was doing shit that was even bigger than the stuff I'm doing right now. Like we was performing with DMX
And Ja Rule opened up for him.
and like yeah, like it's just craziness. Stadiums with 15, 20,000 people and on red carpets with Bow Wow and mad jewelry and like high production videos with $50,000 budgets and like all this extra stuff. We got a $1.2 million deal on the table, all that, and one of my favorite rappers, Eminem, he's the reason why the deal got pulled off the table because
The source beef.
yeah, with Benzino on them at the time. So it's just crazy that happened because it was like back then, like I got a taste of like what more than like I feel like that was like a real like the industry was behind me. There was a labels thing. Like I got to see that, but again, I was so young, I didn't realize the nuances of it. Now when I'm older, I really had to start from like square zero. Like it was crazy. Like I'm paying to perform in front of fucking 5 people at Club Pyramid and no one's there, no one cares, and I'm getting 3 streams and I'm like, you know what I'm saying? I'm handing out my mixtape in the street and trying to get people to like, that was my, and there's been a gradual climb. So to get that early and to actually start doing music when I was an adult or graduating high school and to come from that is crazy, man. But we was called Three Down. We did a whole album. It's actually fire. It never came out. A bunch of unreleased tracks, and we actually have a music video out called Baby Boo, which is hilarious. If you look at it, like I look back and I'm like, yo, son, this is crazy. Like, yeah, but it's definitely funny. But to think about that, I've been really rapping for like I'm 28 now, but I've been rapping for 20 years. Like, like, it's really crazy.
You have been, and it's a gift that you have, and you've established your own lane. Your father sat you down when you were younger and said that you're a man, you need to take care of your family, and you took that on eventually after he passed. When did that start to take form when you had to provide for your family? Was it right at the age of 8, or was it after, once you had to start living your life as a child?
No, even then I felt the responsibility, and everything I did during Three Down, like even those days, all the money I got went towards paying bills and paying for, what I'm saying? Like not a lot of 8-year-olds could say that they were paying rent, but I was, you know what I mean? And it was one of those things, and I felt like a failure when it went through, and I, for a minute there, I was being a kid and being a teenager, where and the reality of it is that most 10-year-olds or 8-year-olds or however old I was, like can't support a whole family, you know what I mean? But like I put that pressure on myself, and as I grew older, I did my best. You know what I mean? I wasn't able to support them financially always, and we struggled a lot with finances and just life beating you down. But it's one of those things where I was always trying to be there for them, either mentally or emotionally, or just do whatever I can with what I had to be able to support my family and my sisters and my mother. So it was definitely a responsibility that I felt that I had. And for the most part, I think, we've done a lot of healing, and I've done a lot of stuff that I'm proud of inside my family unit, and a lot more that I could have done. But, that comes with acceptance. And as I grow more as an adult, my sisters are all adults. My mom's an adult. Everyone's doing a lot better. Everyone's taking care of themselves. But if they ever need me for anything or ever feel like I need to be there, then they know I will be in a heartbeat. So it's definitely beautiful.
Mm-hmm. There was a time period in your life when you were homeless. What was it that got you out of that period and got your life back on track into the path that you're on now?
I think that it was gradual, man. Like we was homeless for a while, and it was one of those things where like we was house hopping and we was separated for a long time. I was staying in either friends' houses or my cousin's house, or sleeping on floors or wherever I could lay my head at the time. And my sisters and my mom was doing the same. And at some point in high school, we all decided like, yo, let's try to get into the shelter, even though it sucks there. Like, it sucks where we're at now too. But if we go in there as a family, maybe we can get some sort of like Section 8 at the time that they were offering it. And, we was able to get in there and eventually get a place, get back on our feet. And, just, I think we all decided as a family unit to like figure it out and just, get into a better position to try to stick together, because we was only surviving because we were separate, because, it was too many of us to stay in one place. You know what I mean? Like, so I think as everyone got older and just learned more about life and gradually got over their traumas and was able to maneuver more, I think people just started getting, just more stabilized. It wasn't like a singular moment that happened that allowed us to just bounce back, but it was a slow, gradual burn and a lot of lessons and a lot of growing, and that happened over the course of over a decade that allowed us to just get back on our feet. You know what I'm saying? And when contrasting to where we were then versus now, like, it's dope to look back and see, like, wow, like, though we do want to grow more and though there's a lot more we want to do, like, we definitely came a long way from, all sleeping separately on, whoever's floor was available at the time. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so it's definitely crazy. Yeah.
It's unfortunate the stuff that happened, but it shows that you guys made it out, and thank God that you did, and that you're on the path that you're on right now. You've had your struggles with depression over the years. I've heard the stories about just when you were at this pool and you saw these women, they were mocking you pretty much about
Yeah.
your weight, and you eventually had to pull yourself out of that. And you
Yeah,
were
man.
using affirmations.
Yeah, man, that was during the time where I was actually living in a shelter. I was probably like 15 at the time, and I was at a low point in my life, man. Like, what I'm saying, the girl I was with at the time, I'm pretty sure she was cheating on me. The I was homeless. I was wearing the same clothes every day. I suffered from anxiety and depression, and just had a very low self view of myself, and I didn't want to go to the pool in the first place. But my friends like really encouraged me to go, and I hop out the pool and I'm walking towards them, and I'm wet, looking fat, soaking, walking to the other side, and just a group of like, decently looking girls come, and they just all start pointing and laughing at me, and like it was very destructive for a fragile mind that was already feeling low about themselves. You know what I mean? And it was at that point where I realized, I'm like, yo, like if I don't want to feel destroyed constantly, I gotta stop taking what people think about me so seriously, and the only person I should take seriously is myself, my own self opinion. And if I'm going to take my self opinion seriously, I can't have my self opinion being something that's negative or detrimental to my health. So at that point, I really started doing affirmations, started reading like crazy. I read like books like the Disappearance of the Universe, was taught a lot about forgiveness. I read books about the Alchemist that taught about dreams, and just like some self help books that really empower your mind. And I would wake up every day in a shelter. I'll do my push ups. I'll listen to Kings of Leon, and I'll do affirmations in the mirror, and just really try to put myself in the schedule, and really just tell myself like, yo, bro, you're the greatest. You're the greatest. Like, no matter what, you're the greatest. And I would run around with such a force field of positivity. Like, you couldn't tell me anything. There was a point where you couldn't tell me anything. Like, no matter what, I had like a fortress of just self-belief and self-love and positivity, that no matter what was going on in the external world, like nothing could penetrate that bubble. And I had to become that in order to just survive at that time. You know what I mean? Like, so it's definitely, I look back, and granted my life isn't as tragic as it was, but what I did with it was create such a strong energy and force field that I realized that struggle helped me become that strong. And I look back and I'm like, yo, I actually do want more of that back, more of that discipline, more of that relentless, unwavering optimism and positivity and self-talk. Even when I didn't believe it, I would say, yeah, I feel awesome. And afterward, I'll feel a little more awesome. You know what I mean? Like, so, it was definitely something I used as a coping mechanism, but it made me stronger. And it got me through those tough times. You know what I mean? I'm glad I didn't give in to depression and, off myself. You know what I mean? Like, so it was definitely, I'm still here because of it.
Is this right at the point when you would come up with your acronym, greatest in the universe?
Yeah, I would tell myself that, and I'm really into space and astronomy, and I never want to say like I'm the great, like I'm the greatest of all time, and as greatest like all the stuff. I'm like, no, I'm the greatest in the universe, like in all universes and the omniverse and all of existence. Like if I put my mind to it, if I allow myself to be, I could be the greatest being that ever existed and that exists, and I would pump myself up that much. So I always would say greatest in the universe, and by the time I was able to make a project called it just made sense, because like my life was filled with those affirmations, and that's what I would have to tell myself. So it just made sense. When I wanted to empower other people, like why not give them that story? And that's what it was. Yeah.
Mhm. You get your life back on track in high school. You started to take rapping seriously. At what point was it that you started to hit the radio stations and really take it further into the public eye, in which people started to recognize what you were doing?
it was weird. It was about maybe 2 years into me rapping that people started to really take note. Maybe a year or 2 years into rapping, where the novelty of like, oh, this is Big Pun's son. Let me check him out. Let me give him a chance. So there was a novelty of that. I think that happened, and I probably got a few opportunities that I didn't earn at the time. Like being on Hot 97, that first one with Rosenberg, which it was that interest. And I look back and I'm like, wow, if I knew what I knew now, and if I was as experienced and as seasoned as I was, I would have taken more advantage of those opportunities. I would have been better media trained. I would have also had a better skill set that I could capitalize off of the outcome of those opportunities, you know what I mean, and those certain looks and whatnot. But I would say it happened about a year and a half after that. And then as that trickled, I started getting different looks, and I was doing more music. I linked up with the Lock, Styles P and them, and I started getting, in tune with more people in the industry, doing more of those features, and just went on tour with them, and just gradually, like I said, like everything in my life has been a slow burn. Again, it wasn't like one decisive moment. It was like every single fan I have, I earned them one by one. And every single song I did, every single lesson, like it was an earned thing. So it wasn't like a one singular, like, oh, I had that one big interview and that one big show. And it's like, nah, man, this has been like 20 years in the making. And some years it goes up, some years it goes down, some years it plateaus, then it goes back up again. And it's like, it's been a roller coaster, man. But yeah, a lot's happened for sure.
You brought up the Locks. The Locks you're very close with, especially with Styles P, because you had the conversation with him about you being the sword. But when you get on the track, you want to use that gunplay.
Yeah. He's pretty amazing, man. Like he's one of those people that's like, he'll sleep in the, like he really loves it. Like he'll sleep in the studio. The man's a millionaire. He'll like break night in the studio, sleep on the couch, roll up, keep writing. And yeah, he gave me that one gem, man. He gave me a lot of gems, but that gem really stuck with me. It was one of those things where it's like, yeah, like he's like, yo, if you hop on the track with me, I'm a bigger artist than you. My fans like hearing a gun, you know what I mean? And you have a sword and you're really great at a sword. But if you come on a track with me and using a sword, my fans won't care. They want to hear a gun. So you got to show them that you're also good at using the gun. You know what I mean? And that showed me a lot, because now anytime I hop on a track record with a larger artist, I'm realizing like, yo, this is an opportunity to take their fans, to make their fans also my fans. And if I'm going to do that, I have to acknowledge that they listen to this person for a reason. So if I'm over here not giving them what they like from this artist, and it's not saying like change who you are, but learn how you like, who am I with a gun? You know what I mean? Like, who am I with a sword? Who am I with a rocket launcher? Who am I with whatever their world is? So you got to learn how to hop into people's worlds and still be yourself and to capitalize on those opportunities. And I really took that to heart, man. And it's helped me a lot, for sure.
The Locks you've had some gems with, especially with Styles P or some other big artists that we may not know about, that you've collaborated with a lot of people, but who are some legends that you've collaborated with in which they may have or not have collaborated with that have given you some gems over the years?
I would say people know about a lot of the people I collaborated with, but I would say one that people probably don't know that dropped a lot of gems on me was Exhibit. He showed a lot of love, and I got to chill with him in LA. And he's one of those people that he allowed me to see his structure. You know what I'm saying? He allowed me to see, like, one, he told me his life story, which was amazing. He's an amazing dude to be around. He's very high energy, very, very optimistic. And to hear what he had to go through in the industry and hear like what he had to bounce back from, and him being so open about it. And then on top of that, to hang out with him and him to show me a bunch of unreleased stuff and to say like, hey, like, okay, like, he's like, yeah, like this is, I have the next 2 years fully plotted out, every release for the next 2 years on my schedule. And I'm just like, yo, like, I don't even know what's happening next week. Like, the next 2 years of your life, and you have content planned out and rollouts and interviews already set up. And it's like, he's like, yeah, like, this is how you move when you're a millionaire. This is how you move. So I got to breach into the mind state of how someone of that level, or someone a level that you want to be at, how big they think and how critical they think and how they operate and run their lives. And it was really dope, and I'm grateful for him, and he shows a lot of love to this day. So big shout out to Exhibit as well, for allowing me to just be in his life and to observe his movements. Like, it was really dope. It was really dope.
Something I've heard you say in interviews and just bring up even when you're freestyling, give me that boom bap. I like that boom bap. And you've also spoken about it. People listen to You Ain't a Killer today and say, where's the turn up? How come you think that kids just don't feel that, what we feel? Because when I hear You Ain't a Killer and tracks that you do, the dark ones, for instance, that's one of my favorite tracks by you. How come the kids today don't get that same feeling? Because when I listen to Migos, I don't get that same feeling. I'm a young old head. So
for sure. there's a study they did actually. It's like a scientific thing that the music that you hear in your early teens while you're developing, it does something in your brain where it latches onto nostalgia and a development part of your soul that's the music that no matter what, that's always going to feel nostalgic and reminiscent to you, where it's like it hits, like it's like, oh man, this is amazing. So like the kids now, like the things they're listening to is a totally different thing. Like their palette has changed. Same thing, like the era before us, where it's like those people really like a hip, a hop, a hip, like I had like respect to them dudes, but like I'm not gonna listen to that. Like I don't care. And it's one of those things where it's like, yo, like, oh, why you not rapping like that? Like, you can't knock the kids for having a different taste. I think, but everything's cyclical. I think as long as you have a good balance, like I like to always bring up like Kendrick, Pull Up, Drink, Headshot, Drink, where he made a party song about people drinking to it and partying to it and having a good time, but it's a song about the horrors of alcoholism and why you shouldn't drink. And so he perfectly mixed his ability to have a positive message and to have a deep, impactful message with it being formatted in a way for today's listeners to still turn up and to listen to. So it's like he didn't abandon who he was, but he figured out a formula where it's still going to get a lot of plays. You know what I mean? Like, so like you have to find a dope balance if you want to appeal to people now, but still be respected by the people who you respected as well. So it all comes with a balance. And I think ultimately, like if you have a good ear and you know why people, because really the kids like stuff now because it has a bop and a flow to it. So you can still have a dope flow, a dope bop, a dope energy, but still be saying stuff that's impactful and meaningful and figure out how to do it. And I think that's where the greatest artists come from. Like look at Drake, like he's artist of the decade and he's been able to not only set trends, but to be dope enough that he could ride each trend as it comes and not get stuck in the individual trend because he's able to adapt and change because he can actually write well. So I think that's important, you know what I mean? But you got to ask yourself what you're going for. Like, do you want to just make music for yourself and your friends? Or do you want to make it something that you're being paid for? Or do you want to just be respected? Or do you want to actually be fiscally successful? Like, so once you ask yourself and you realize, okay, I want this from it, so I got to do this, and you just accept that and you keep running. You know what I mean?
I remember listening and hearing you speak about your older tracks because you said that you would have to sit still in your room to really listen to some of your tracks back in the day. And you had to change that in your process into making songs that appeal to everybody and get that movement going on the dance floor, just people that are listening to your songs in general, and get the knowledge.
Yeah, man, it was a tough time. Like even to this day, like it pains me knowing like like none of my friends like my music. My family, none of them like no one I know personally likes my music, or at least back then. And it was always like strangers that would like it, and I would look at it and I'll listen to music that they actually do like, and I'm like, wow, like this is nothing like what I'm making. And even I didn't really like the stuff I was making. It was just what I knew how to do. You know what I mean? Like, so I was like, I got to become more multifaceted. I got to learn how to create a bop. There was this one time where I was chilling with Oswin Benjamin and Rod, the producer. He's the one that produced all of Gitu actually. And I was like, yo, I want to learn how to do more tonal stuff. I want to learn how to sing. I want to learn how to like create a bop. And it was like, yeah, bet. It was like, I got to get uncomfortable. So I was like, all right, I'm not going to write. I'm going to just hop in the booth. I'm going to just freestyle, but I'm also not going to rap. I'm only able to sing. So I created a song. It's called People Talk. And I'm in there and it turned out fire. I sent it to my sister. Simply, mind you, I didn't write it. I was singing. It was probably only 4 bars stretched out. The least lyrically dense thing I've ever done. Mm-hmm. And for my sister to go like, oh, this is the best.
Okay, we're back. So I think we left off with you talking about how you began to structure songs lyrically and also bring that flavor to it where everyone can have a bop to it, which is the appeal.
Yeah, it was one of those things where like I said, I realized a lot of my friends and family didn't really like my music, and it was an eye-opening experience. Like one of my birthdays, I was with Rod, the producer, who produced the whole Gitu album. I was with Oswin as well, and I was like, yo, I want to learn how to make music that I like and like become more versatile. Like I want to learn how to hold a note and to do tonal stuff. And it was like, yo, get uncomfortable, get in the booth, sing. And I was like, yo, don't write. You're not allowed to write. You're not allowed to rap. Like you're only allowed to sing and off the top. And I went in there. It was probably the most like least thought I put into something, and it was probably the least lyrically dense thing I've ever done, and it's me singing, and it's dope. It sounded cool, and I showed it to my sister, and it was a bittersweet thing that when she was like, yo, this is the best thing I've ever heard from you. And mind you, like I've done like like 12 minutes straight of just going off and putting my heart and soul into it, and taking 5 days to really craft a verse and to memorize all the stuff, and to know that something I just freestyle on top of my head that was 4 bars. The thing for her to say it's the dopest thing, like it was a slap in the face, but it was also one of those things. It was an eye opener. Like, yo, people listen to music to feel good. Like very few people listen to music to just be super duper staggered and impressed by the lyricism and like that's for like rap nerds, you know what I mean? Which is cool, but for the most part, people listen to music to pass the time while they're cleaning, while they're smoking, while they're having sex, while they're driving, while they're like, and you want to be able to exist in all of these worlds, not just in the gym or in a rap nerd contest. You know what I mean? So it's like, yo, like how can I do more? And ultimately I wanted to make music that I would listen to, because for a long time I didn't. And I was like, yo, what's the disconnect? So I had to learn how to like create new skills and to learn new stuff just to make the music that I heard in my head. Because prior to that, all I knew how to do was rap really aggressively and densely. Now I developed enough skills that I'm way closer to the music that I hear in my head. Still not perfectly there yet, but it's definitely better. And now I can exist in multiple worlds, not just the gym and not just in a rap nerd, exhibition,
Have you had conversations with any labels recently? Because I know you're independent. Have you had any conversations with labels recently about signing a deal, or do you plan on just staying independent?
A couple. Sometimes it's like distribution deals or like different things like that. But nothing that's like super, there's nothing right now that's super life changing or crazy. That's like, yeah, like expect me to be signed to a major with 12 million like next year. There's not like that, but like, some stuff here and there for sure. But for the most part, when you see what they're offering someone at my, status or level right now, it's a lot of stuff that you can do for yourself. It's just like, they're just fronting some money and like doing, it's different now with the internet and with other stuff. Like you either have to be an incredibly established artist for them to offer you something that's really impeccable, or you get kind of lowballed, or you can just do it yourself. So it's cool. But I've done some distribution deals and stuff like that. But hopefully, in the future, if I when I become more largely renowned, if a label does approach me with something that does make sense, then it's something to look at for sure. But if I'm already at that point, making 6 figures, 7 figures, 8 figures off of music myself, the question, you beckon, what do I need you for? And,
exactly.
So it's one of those things. But yeah, we'll see where the future takes us. There's some stuff on the table, so we're gonna keep looking at
it. I think it would be full circle if Eminem signed you to Shady Records, because he's signing a lot of real lyrical artists right now. Grip, Conway the Machine. You're seeing the trend there where you got the real hip hop MCs getting signed to Eminem. And because with your deal with Interscope getting shelved back in the day, I think it would only be full circle for you to get that deal with Eminem.
Yeah, that crossed my mind a few times. I always thought that, especially him being one of my favorite rappers, growing up. I thought it would just be hilarious. You know what I'm saying? Like to have the opportunity, because then I'll definitely, hopefully, be able to. If that was the case, I would be able to meet him, and if I did, I would definitely tell him that story. Like, you know what I'm saying? You need to put at least that much in my pocket with this deal, because that's what you took. You know what I mean? Like let's go. But like, yeah, that would be pretty funny. That's a full circle. Sure.
It would be, and I hope something like that happens, and you get what you deserve, because MCs out here, it's difficult with the social media game out here, and I understand that MCs go through a difficult path out here for what's trendy and popping, and what you do and other MCs do is hip hop. And at the end of the day, there needs to be a balance where you guys can win and eat too, because you got the trap artists that are eating and winning out here, rightfully so, but you guys are the definition of hip hop.
Yeah, it's definitely unfortunate for a lot of people that think that they could just love music and just succumb in this, like loving it and not empower themselves with any knowledge, because it's one of those things similar to boxing, where it's like there's no pension, there's no like union, there's no like nothing like that. Like you really like a lot, like most the starving artist term is really coined and really exists. Like there's a lot of people who make almost no music or money off of music in general, or they're trying to really figure it out. But I've seen a lot of dudes with like 1/10 of my following making 10 times more money than me, because they learned how to capitalize off of the business and certain things. And it really got me into empowering myself with the knowledge, like reading the right books, getting the right people around me, knowing what opportunities that you should be capitalizing on, or things that you could do better to further, your finances in this thing. Because there are ways that, you got to ask yourself, it's like, do I want to be, I don't know, like Drake? Do I want to make $25-50 million a year off of this, or do I want to make 60K a year off of this, or 100K? You know what I mean? When you start breaking it down like that, when you think about like, okay, I want 100K worth of, I want to make 100K a year. It's like, cool. So I need $100,000 worth of content. Like, say if you had $100 worth of content that you release in a year, and let's say like you release like 2 albums, that's $10 a piece, that's $20. You release like, you know, a piece of merch that's $50, a couple of CDs that's what, like $30, whatever, that's $100. If you got 1,000 people to buy all of that in a year, you got 1,000 dedicated fans, that's $100,000. You know what I mean? Like, and $100,000 doing something you love and something that you enjoy, that's not bad, man.
No,
you know
not at all.
it's not bad at all. It's not bad at all. So when you stabilize your expectations into something that's still grandiose and exceptional, but something that's realistic, or something that you could approach in a way that like an action-based plan that you could approach it, and you bring it down to the real world, you start saying like, yo, this is possible. And you really ask yourself, like, do I really need millions of dollars to be happy? Or do I need, what do I need to be happy? And what do I need right now? Like in the next year, what do I need to be happy? And you think about that, and you think about the steps to get there, like you can, but you got to empower yourself, because a lot of these people coming in up and rap, like there's people who sign contracts and don't read them because they don't know what that is. And there's people like, you know what I mean? Like, it's unfortunate that, you know, we're perpetually taken advantage of and under empowered in the field of knowledge. But so I would encourage everyone out there that's doing this, learn the business side, learn everything you can to make money in it, and make sure it's something that you absolutely love, because it's not going to be something that you're going to be making tons of bread off initially. Usually you might need a side hustle in order to support this, you know what I mean? Whatever it is, but it's possible, man. Like, as long as it's possible. You may not be a trillionaire, but you could be good. You could be well off. Yeah.
100%. You have 9 projects out right now with Apophenia, and just seeing you build your discography, what project do you look back on, or album that you're most proud of, that you say to yourself that this is Chris Rivers, this is my legacy?
It's funny because I don't feel like I have that one defining, like, you know, you look at Kendrick and he has a Good Kid, Mad City, or you look at, you know, J. Cole and he has 2014 Forest Hill Drive, you have Ready to Die for Biggie, like those people that's like Illmatic for Nas, like the one staple album that's like, wow, this is the one. I feel like I haven't made that one yet. I do have albums that I'm proud of for personal reasons, like the first one I ever came out with, which was, you know, it wasn't even an album, it was a mixtape, but it was Wonderland of Misery. That was the first time I actually like, yo, let me make a project. So that holds dear in my heart, and I can hear myself being so free, in a sense that I had no idea about, I wasn't influenced by fans yet, because it was my first project. I wasn't influenced by the industry or thinking like, oh, I need to do more of this, or this song needs to be more well-rounded if I want to access this target demographic. Like, it was just raw, straight out of high school. I had stuff I wanted to say. I was trying stuff. I was having fun. Like, that's dope in my heart. I would say another one that's dope in my heart is DeLorean and Gitu. Because DeLorean was me finally, I could hear myself trying stuff. Because I was trying, like, yo, let me try to start making music that's not just one dimensional, but it felt really rough, and it felt like I was beginning to try stuff. And Gitu is dear to me because I felt like I was finally, like, I linked up with a producer that was very dynamic and knew a lot of instruments. And that was the first time I really created songs where I felt like I was doing stuff that was really different and way more developed and artistically developed. And I feel like that had the biggest change between the last project and that one, as for all my projects, where it sounded like the most of a different, I was kind of leaning into more like the music that I wanted to make. And then SIBB, I'm also proud of, because that was me, like, it was completely in isolation. Like, I found those beats myself, I recorded myself, I built the studio under my bed. Like, it was really like one of those things. It's like, yo, like, everyone got COVID right now, I can't leave the crib, how can I make something? And the only thing that I outsourced was the mixing. Shout out to Leftway. He also mixed Apophenia as well. He mixes a lot of my stuff. And because I wasn't that, but if I learned how to mix, I would have did that too. And I was singing on those hooks, and I didn't know how to sing, but I was doing everything myself. And, you know, so it holds dear. But you know, so it's crazy. Like, each project means a different thing to me, because I hear it and I remember where I was in my life at that time, you know. But as far as like a defining project that I could tell people, like, yo, go back and listen to this, and this is Chris Rivers, I feel like I'm maybe a year or two from creating that project. You know what I mean? Like, and that's when all my ducks are in order. I got all the production I want. I got all the collaborations I want. I got every single thing. Like I'm like, yeah, I can fund this and do that. Like my defining artist. I think that's coming in the next year or two for sure.
Oh, and I'll be looking forward to that. And I'm sure your fans will be looking forward to that. For me, when I think about, because I was in the middle of what I was saying for my next question, for me, your Illmatic, your defining album for me is Gitu, because you look at the songs that are on that album, besides Sincerely Me, Damaged Goods. That's a song to me that's just out of this world and crazy.
Yeah. If I had to pick one out of the stuff that I made so far, it's definitely that project. That's the most defining. That's the most like developed, and that like it was the most like I was like, yeah, like it felt like a come out project. It was unfortunate that my career was what it was leading up into that. I feel like I changed so much during that project that some of my father's fans or people that expected me to be a certain way or what I built up, they leaned away from it. You know what I mean? Where I gained a lot of fans too, that was different. So it was like a split there. So it was like starting again from square one. But like when you prestige and Call of Duty, where you still kind of got all your skills, but you lost all your weapons. That's kind of how it felt. Where it was like, okay, cool. Like I'm starting to get from square one, but I know a lot more. And that project was it, man. I'm super proud of that project. The songs I listen. I think when I blow up, or when I really get to a crazy level, and people go back and hear my projects, that's going to be one of the ones that they hear and they're like, wow, this was amazing. I can't believe I ever heard this. You know what I mean? Because
Birds.
It's still say, yeah, Birds. I love Birds. Like I love, yeah, Damaged Goods. Yeah, so many of those songs are just like, yo, like it's just awesome. Yeah, for sure.
Insane. Self-Inflicted, Bubble Boy. That was a great project that you released there. Was this inspired by the movie Bubble Boy starring Jake Gyllenhaal?
I did watch that growing up, and that's the first time I heard the phrase "bubble boy,"
Mhm.
I kind of made it more metaphoric. You know, like he was a literal bubble boy where he couldn't leave because of his immune system was compromised. But I felt that way during COVID, where it's like, yo, we're all trapped in our homes, and then when I started realizing, like, yo, like when you think more deeply, like we're all trapped in bubbles, like our bubbles of thought and our bubbles of social dynamics, where we like, you know, someone, your neighbor, you're like someone who lives right next to you is living a totally different life than you, has different opinions about everything, different foods that they like, different perspective on life and philosophies and all that stuff, because their bubble is different than your bubble. And we have a social, we have like a bubble because of our borough, a bubble because of our complexion, our culture. We even have a United States bubble because you leave the country and you realize people fundamentally don't even think like we do. You know what I mean? So when I realized that a lot of the pain that I was feeling was self-inflicted, that's the self-inflicted part, and the isolation part where it comes to the bubble boy, where it's like, you know, because also when I get depressed, I tend to isolate myself. So I was really trying to build metaphorically what that meant. I was like, yo, this feels right. It's a funny ass title, and I love acronyms for my titles, and I love weird titles. And I was like, yeah, no, it just makes sense. It's like, yeah, I feel isolated and I feel trapped, but this is definitely self-inflicted. Like I did this to myself. Like I'm my only enemy here, and I gotta get through that. And that's how it felt being in, you know, fucking quarantine for the start of COVID. It was crazy.
Oh, I remember the start of COVID, and what's funny is that when COVID started going crazy, you actually, because when I was at St. John's, you actually came up to the station the day that they sent everybody home, and I was still in my home because I live in Connecticut. I was
Right.
still in my home in Connecticut, and I all of a sudden I get a call from the station saying that, oh, Chris Rivers is here for you. But we shut down, and I had no idea that you were coming or anything. I don't know if you
Yeah,
remember that.
that was at the school.
Yeah, it was at the school and they shut everything down,
Yeah,
and
I remember
and
it.
and there was some conflicts with the schedule and everything, and we didn't get to do it, but it comes full circle now that we're doing the
Yeah,
interview now.
that's it. You
And
know, it's funny. I didn't know. I'm glad you said that because I didn't know that was you.
yeah,
Like
that was me because you were there
that
for my show then.
I met some cool people there. I showed up and I was shocked too because I was like, I was reading signs while I was walking into the school, and I'm like, yo, a lot of stuff seems like it's shut down. I went up there and it was like, yeah, this is like, yo, it's not happening. I got to chop it up with a few cats in there, and I was like, yo, like that's crazy. But I was like, yo, like shit, world is shutting down. Let's go. But to 2 years later to actually be doing an interview with you, that's nuts, bro. That's nuts.
That's crazy, man. I'm glad that we were able to do this and make it happen. It's been a long time coming, and I'm just glad to see that you're still going through it and releasing music and still being productive during this time of COVID, because we're making it through this. We're still being productive, and especially you as an artist, it's so difficult because of the performances it's really hurt the music industry, and I'm talking about COVID, because the entertainment factor of it, it's just gone right now. It's not the same. The performances, you never know where the mandates or what's going on with the restrictions in certain areas. It's insane.
Yeah, if you relied on shows as income, which a lot of artists did primarily, that shut down. And then on top of that, merchandise, which normally averaged about 30% of an artist's income, that was typically sold primarily at shows as well. So two of the biggest income for artists were shut down respectfully from COVID. And then on top of that, really like now you really got to rely on streams, and that's so difficult unless you're like a huge artists that you're getting a crazy amount of streams. So creators really had to learn how to be really creative and adapt with the times. And I think a lot of people who weren't doing things creatively before COVID started to, because they adapted. And I think the artists that adapted during it were the ones that really came out successful. And like I think this whole thing, pandemic, really birthed a lot of entrepreneurs. Because a lot of people got laid off. A lot of people realized the fickle nature that anything can happen and you could lose your job. So if you're not self-efficient, if you don't know what you're doing, then you're going to be left in the dust. And so I think it created a lot of hustlers and a lot of entrepreneurs, and also created a lot of people, realizing like, oh shit, I need to get a regular job or whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like, but it's been an adjustment, man. And I'm glad that I'm still here. I'm still adjusting, and I'm ready to go way further, bro. And interesting to seeing where the world's going, because it's still crazy.
It's insane, and I hope COVID it ends soon. With Omicron, it's going insane out here still. I'm hoping in a couple years we're out of this and everything's back to normal, because we haven't experienced normal in 3 years. It feels as though that this is the new normal.
Yeah, I think the normal, it's going to be a new normal. It's going to be a new adjustment, and that happens a lot. You know what I'm saying? Because what's normal now is not what was normal in the 1900s or even in the 80s. You know what I
Uh,
mean? Like, and so like, and granted, this shake the world up, but it's never going to be like how it was beforehand. You know what I
uh,
mean? Because the innovations that happened during, you know what I mean, and just the awareness of it. So I'm interested in seeing what kind of phoenix rises from the ashes of this situation, and hopefully we all come back to life with it.
what's your plan of attack next, and taking the next step into the industry to be someone such as Drake and taking it to that level? Because to me, you're ready. You've been
Yeah,
ready.
I think artistically I am. I think right now, as far as like on a business level, I'm making sure that I stay very consistent with the content and very on brand, like making sure everything on the back end is right, making sure that I release music, on Spotify or streaming platforms every 2 to 6 weeks, making sure that I like overload them similar to Griselda with many, like, at least like 3 or 4 projects a year, and just kind of overload them with content, because as long as you stay in people's faces, it's a numbers game at this point. You know what I mean? Like, and making sure that I'm, living enough life experiences and getting more creative while I'm doing that, expanding my like, my ability to make different types of music and better music, and really capitalize off of TikTok and Instagram and social media platforms. I really use all the tools around me to really push my content and allow my content to develop with the time. Now I think that's the best way for me to get out there, because I've always had talent, I've always had skill, and I've always had a work ethic, but I wasn't fully utilizing the tools. I thought just being talented or just working really hard was enough, but it's not. Sometimes you don't need to work as hard, but you need to work smarter. And sometimes you don't, what I'm saying? Sometimes it's not about talent. Sometimes it's about being creative and about being, well informed and being connected. So making sure that those areas where I felt, I look back and I realized I was weak there, to expand on that, because as far as being good enough, I'm more than good enough than some of the best artists in the world. I'll rap them. I could do a lot of those things, but can my business be as good as theirs? That's what I'm getting to the point of, for sure.
It's going to happen, because you've tackled everything thus far, and just your story and hearing it, it's such an inspiration, because you've gone through the rough points and now you're moving to the apex right now, and it's important in your career, and it's only going to keep getting higher and higher for you.
Thank you so much, brother. That means a lot, man. Like, it's been a long and turbulent journey, and I just want it to all, be worth it in the end. So I'm gonna make sure that it is, for
Mhm.
sure.
You brought up collaborations before. Who are you looking forward to going bar for bar with in the future that you haven't went bar for bar with yet?
Just this year alone, I want to collab with people like Coda the Friend, Marlon Craft. I would like to collab with Kemba. He's an amazing artist from New York. Like, people I respect musically. If I could get collaborations from people like, like a Joey Badass, or I get collaborations from like a CJ Fly, or anybody with like a really good following or notoriety. Like, I'm looking forward to that too. But there's upcoming cats right now that I really do respect their craft, and going hard in the game right now, and I want to do stuff with them, and even people at a higher level if I can. So I'm just pumped to work with anybody at this point. Like, there's some people who I'm excited to work with because I'm fans of their music, and there's some people who I'm not fans of, but their numbers go fucking crazy, and I'm like, I'm excited to just take your fans. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm ready to work with a lot of people and just stay releasing music constantly and just be smart about it for sure.
We need that Griselda Chris Rivers track, that Dave East Chris Rivers track. We need to make
Yeah,
that happen.
yeah, for sure. Yeah. And some of those are really possible. I love asking for those things when it makes sense, when it's not like a favor. So once I turn up a bit more and the numbers make sense, then I'm gonna hit them up, be like, yo, let's do this, because it's not just beneficial to me, but it's gonna be a good look for all of us. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm definitely gonna earn those for sure.
100%. Pardon the puns. The reality show. I was reading about it years ago. Is there any update on this? Could we ever go through with this?
Man, I don't know, man. We got a lot of industry blocks, you know what I mean, from like inside of it, or whatever it is. Like, certain things just don't happen. So we realized that, like, while that may not happen, maybe one of my sisters might get a show or do their things, you know what I'm saying. But I realized, I'm like, yo, like, again, with TikTok, with YouTube, like, you're better off making your own little show, recording your own stuff, accumulating millions of followers, and like, and starting yourself. A lot of these people, I know, I see some YouTubers that make $5 million a month just recording themselves fucking getting Starbucks and raising a kid. Like, I'm like, yeah, like, I look at my lady, I'm like, yo, let's go. This year we gonna start our own show on YouTube. It's gonna be me and you know what I'm saying? So yeah, I don't know if a show like that is happening, but at this point, screw the industry. Like, we're gonna make it happen ourselves, and we're gonna do it. Yeah, for sure.
Any talks with any collaborations with Chalkline and Ewing Athletics for your own line of sneakers for Apophenia or any of your upcoming projects?
Not yet, man. There's some clothing collaborations with different companies that I'm definitely getting like associates or collaborative stuff with, but nothing like that. I definitely would love to eventually, but I think that's one of those things, like someone even offered to do like an autobiography of my life or certain things recently, and like, or even a movie, and I was like, yo, it's too soon. I was like, too soon. Like, I haven't done the big amazing things yet. Like, I still feel like I'm at the like the like my backstory's been established, and I'm at the beginning of like the crazy parts of my journey where like at the big stuff hasn't happened yet, where I'm able to do the autobiography. So when I look at like sneakers, I'm like, yeah, like, nah, yeah, like, let me blow up, let me get to a certain level before I do that, so that now it makes sense and people actually want to get them and stuff like that. Because again, right now, that would be a favor. That'd be me like, yo, like, can't, let me do this. And it's not just like, yo, this makes sense. You know what I mean? So like, eventually, I see it down the line for sure, but I definitely got to make a little more noise and establish myself more as a staple before I get some of those bigger looks, and it makes sense for sure.
I can't wait for that to happen. How's life on the West Coast now? Could you mention earlier you moved to the West Coast? Are you out in LA, California?
Yeah, between there and AZ and other spots on the West Coast as well, and it's dope, man. It's a change of vibe. The weather is, I'm grateful. Like, it's OD brick right now in New York, and
You got that right.
yeah, you know what I mean? Over here is now. So that's pretty cool. And like, the vibe and the energy is different. The sunset be slapping over here and the clouds look different. Like, it's just a nice change of pace. I realized I've started feeling stagnant in New York. You know what I mean? I started feeling like stuck. Like, my life was just like a never ending cycle of the same thing. So sometimes, it's great to have internal change, and it's great to change your perspective in the inside, because that's what really matters. But sometimes an external change, a big one, could stimulate some internal growth. So that's what I did. I wanted to like kickstart and defibrillate my life a bit, and it did. So I enjoy it. Some of the friendships I have over here, and I'm still just, I'm fresh. I haven't even made a year out here yet, so I'm definitely interested in seeing what more stuff can happen. Yeah.
A change of scenery is always needed, and this is what's really going to kickstart your career for even further right now. And you're seeing that Apophenia is available on all platforms. Make sure you go check that out, download it, support it. Chris Rivers, man, is there anything else you would love to let my audience know? Any upcoming announcements that you want to make? Anything?
Yeah, stay tuned, man. Like I said, Apophenia is out everywhere. Definitely listen to that. Besides this joint project, I got more music and more projects coming throughout the year. Follow me on Spotify, social media platforms, all of that. And just believe in yourself. Just love what you're doing. Believe in yourself. Don't be too hard on yourself. Like, the world is crazy right now, and the world's gonna beat you down all by itself. The last thing you need to do is help it. Believe in yourself, man. Like, be happy, pursue your dreams, and just keep going. Because if I could do it through trauma, through depression, through weight issues, through all that stuff, and I can still be here fighting, then y'all can do it too, man. And I believe in y'all for what it's worth, and I love y'all. So shout out to you, brother. Thank you for having dope energy. And honestly, this is one of the best interviews I've had in a long time, because I've done a lot of interviews where I could tell the people interviewing don't really know that much about me or certain things. That I could tell you really did your research and you really care. And I love the way you go about it, man. So I appreciate you having me and just giving me this dope experience as well, for sure.
That means a lot to me, Chris Rivers. Thank you for what you're doing for the game and what you're bringing to hip hop, because at the end of the day, I stand with MCs such as yourself, and it's going to be my job, especially as a DJ, and not only just a radio host, but to keep promoting what you got going and what MCs are doing out here, because people need to know at the end of the day, hip hop comes first, and hip hop is MCs.
Let's go. That's how you wrap up the show, bro.
That's right. You already know. Make sure they follow you on Instagram at Dragons and Rivers.
Yes,
make
sir.
sure you go follow them on Instagram at that. And for all my listeners out there, and make sure you go download the newest project, OCD. Go support them. It's real hip hop. We don't get collectives like this anymore. Griselda was rare, but you got OCD right now. OCD is out, and they're popping, and they're ready to do bigger and better things.
Yes, sir. You're the man, bro. Go support that, man. If y'all care about us at all, just give it a listen. And if you like it, show your friends, show your mom, whoever, definitely.
You got that right. You're always welcome on the show. Anytime you want to come back on and talk about an upcoming project or when you release one, we'd love to have you back on. Shout out to Ray for setting this up too.
Yeah, I'm going to be back when I got the next project to promote. Best
for sure, man. I appreciate it. I got it in the rotation. I want you to enjoy the rest of your night. Stay safe, and good luck on what you're doing in Colorado too.
Thank you.
1 mile high. Go represent the Broncos out there.
It's going to be hard to perform at that altitude, but we'll make it happen.
Yeah.
All right, bro.
All right. Good night, Chris Rivers. Have a good night, man. And peace to all the listeners out there.
Love.
Love, man.